Let's freaking go. We have a lot to get to tonight. The SEC meetings are happening. Oh my goodness, the SEC meetings. What is actually going to happen in the future of the Southeastern Conference? Let's go. So we have to talk about that. We got to talk about JADEN RASHADA. I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about the 5-star quarterback out of California. He will be visiting Baton Rouge. But as you guys saw with the title of today's video, I've always found this to be interesting. And we'll talk about Omarion Miller as well. This is the first thing that I want to share with you about college football in general, right? There is very rarely a huge story in college football. Like every year we play the national championship game. That's a huge story. And you know me, I'm all about the games, but it's not necessarily a story. And over the past year, we had two gigantic stories happen in college football. The first is obviously Nick and Jimbo going back and forth, and then Deion Sanders obviously getting roped in there as well. And the second was the Lincoln Riley and Brian Kelly fiasco. So the simple truth is this: Brian Kelly is a lot like Ed Orgeron in this aspect. He has got real haters. There are people out there that really want to see Brian Kelly fail. They do. And if you're an LSU fan, you obviously don't want him to fail, right? I don't want him to fail. I got an LSU football channel. The channel is better when the team wins. And the bottom line is, look, Brian Kelly has a lot of haters, and that's fine, right? There's a lot of haters in the Notre Dame fan base. There's a lot of haters that exist on social media. There's a lot of haters in the national college football media that didn't like the family thing or whatever. He's got real haters, and that's fine. It's perfectly fine for your coach to not be universally loved. Not every coach is loved by everyone. It's just the truth. Not every coach is viewed kindly in the minds of many. But the bottom line is this: if you are still on the fence about Brian Kelly, there's a lot that you guys are probably skeptical about. There's a lot that I'm skeptical about as far as Brian Kelly is concerned. And obviously that'll play out in its own right. But the simple truth is this about Brian Kelly is, in order for his legacy and his name to live throughout the years and years of college football, for his name to be what it is now is obviously really impressive. All-time winningest coach at Notre Dame, and so on and so on. Nothing matters until you win that national championship. And that, of course, is a very unfair way of looking at college football coaches, but that's how most people do. Do you win national championships? In the grand scheme of things, a lot of neutral college football fans don't know who Bill Snyder is. They just don't. But they know who Ed Orgeron is. Who's the better coach? Okay. What's up, Rob? I love the profile photo switch, man. We have some nice dark IPAs. You put your money where your mouth is when you get on me about my fruity beers. RSX, what's good? Old vet, Jacob. A lot of the usuals in here. Pierce, Mick, Esteban. The master. I kind of don't want to do a Master Blaster just yet. Tony the Tiger, what's good? LA Mom, thanks for reaching out to me on Twitter. Good to have you back in here. I know you're a super busy gal. The treasure of PHL is here. Okay, so we have a lot to get to. LG's I have a question. I do have a Saints question for LGZ a little bit later. LGZ, remind me to talk about this in here in about an hour and a half or an hour. I'll get to it in about an hour. I know we're LSU football, but you know, we'll touch on some different topics from time to time, especially if it's Saints related. As always, you can join the PHL T-shirt club. We got a brand new shipment of shirts coming in. There is Jason with his PHL shirt. There's Chris with this PHL shirt. And let's see if I could find LGZ's PHL shirt photo. I know it's in here somewhere. I guess I lost it in here. But anyway. What's up, Freddie? Good to see you. So Chris, yeah, we'll talk about the SEC meetings as well. Bill Snyder, coach at K-State for 124 years. There you go. There you go. There's LGZ. That's good, man. RSX, I need a photo of you in your PHL shirt, preferably your avatar. There you go. So if you want to join the Booger Band Club like LGZ and you want to rock your PHL shirt like me, actually, look at me. I'm screwing this up right here. Go on ahead and hit me up, Venmo, Cash App, and that's the best way to get your shirt ordered. And, of course, feel free to Venmo, Cash App your questions in Super Chat, obviously. Always helps growing the channel. I really do appreciate each and every one of you. I've gotten a lot of messages about how much you guys have been enjoying the content lately. It's kind of strange. I normally don't, I normally get a lot of supportive messages, but today, you guys have been laying it on thick, and I really do appreciate it. I appreciate you, LA Mom, for hitting me up today. And yeah, so as far as the channel, obviously we're working on a running back deep dive. We're getting together the Patreon stuff. I know I've been hyping up this running back deep dive. You guys are absolutely going to love it, especially if you love the history of LSU football, because like we're not Oklahoma. We are a running back school more than a quarterback school. So you guys are going to love this running back deep dive. We're going to talk about this guy in the background right here. Obviously, big fan of the channel, Jay Hill. I'm personally a big fan of his. And he was one of the few that called to comfort me after my Liverpool Football Club lost the Champions League. So there you go. Thank you. I need that PHL photo. Slow mode gotcha. Duke, what's up, man? Everyone, Duke's one of the newer PHLers. I love it. I love it. Jared. Let me see. I think I got Jared's photo somewhere in here as well. Let's see. There's so many photos of you guys I got stored up in this thingamabobber. There you go. There's me and Jared right there. Artie the Mayonnaise Kid. Let's go. Let's go. So poll question is up. Should the SEC move to a 9-game conference schedule? 58% of you say yes. 42% of you say no. So in the comment section right now, type Y for yes, type in for no. I'm curious because Chris wants to talk about that. Of course, I'll talk about that. Chris is one of my top guys. Type Y for yes, type in for no. You want a 9-game conference schedule, right? Type Y for yes, type in for no. You want a 9-game conference schedule. Okay? What's good, Richie? Look at that photo, man. Gotta love it. Chris says no. RD says no. And while your responses come on in, I want to shout out our friends at the Presley Collection, PresleyCollection.com for supporting us. Man, I'm going to tell you more about them throughout today's live stream. Dang, every single one of you say no, no, yes, no. Yes, I thought for sure Rob's like a competitive guy. Rob loves competition. I've gotten to know Rob, fairly well throughout the live streams. Kind of shocked Rob said no. Chris, very calculated guy. He understands the benefit of only having an 8-game conference schedule. So doesn't shock me that Chris says yes. Or says no. Let's see. What's up, Jewel? Good to see you. Jewel says yes. Let's see. Keep Bama, Florida, Archie every year. Find a way to rotate Auburn, Ole Miss every other year. Dream scenario for me. What's up, Mike? Good to see you. Akon and LGZ. I'm telling you, LGZ, you remind me because I made a big decision regarding Jameis Winston tonight. It's something that I have been thinking about for a while, and I actually moved on it. So remind me, LGZ, because I need some Jameis Winston experts to help me out a little bit later, which is ironic because our first game's against Florida State. And I'm guessing they're going to do some kind of guest captain thing. Tyrann Mathieu, Jarvis Landry going up against Jameis Winston. You know, there's going to be a lot of trash talk that week. All three of those guys, three of the more colorful personalities in the NFL. If we do a 9-game conference schedule, then no more big out-of-conference games. So that's going to be the big story, right? Obviously, here's what we'll do. I know some of you want to talk JADEN RASHADA. Big JADEN RASHADA story today just dropped. 5-star quarterback. So if you want to talk JADEN RASHADA now, feel free to super chat. But it does seem, just based on your responses, that you guys and gals want to talk a little bit more about the 9-game conference schedule, which is, perfectly fine. Didn't they say today they decided on 3 permanents with the rotating schedule that would let every team play every 2 years, unless I misheard that? So the report is this, and Ross Dellinger's been all over the story, and he's been all over the scheduling stuff in general. There's 2 different schedule formats that the SEC is seriously considering, okay? If it stays at an 8-game conference schedule, they will do a 1-game permanent opponent and a 7-team rotating schedule for the other 7 conference games, okay? Now, if you do a 9-game conference schedule, you're essentially going to get a pod system, but they won't call it a pod system. It'll be a rotating door of 3 different teams, or 3 teams you'll play every year, and the other 9 will, or the other 6 will rotate. So, for me, this is what I'll say about that. Okay. The first thing here is a neutral observer, right? I was just on a national show. I was just on Mark Rogers' show before this. A neutral observer would say this, okay? I want more conference games. Why is it that the SEC only plays an 8-game conference schedule when the Big 12 plays a 9-game conference schedule, and the Pac-12 plays a 9-game conference schedule, unless I'm mistaken? Why is that the case? Now, obviously, a rational SEC fan would say, well, an 8-game SEC schedule is tougher than a 9-game Big 12 schedule. And in many ways, it is. It is tougher. Just having Alabama on your schedule by default makes it a tougher schedule. And obviously, all the other great SEC teams. But the one thing the Big 12 can say, and this is something that is, we can't argue against this in the SEC. It is a big benefit that the Big 12 has over us, is that they only have 10 teams. So their 9-game conference schedule, you play every team every year. There's no ducking anybody. You can't avoid anyone just because they're on a down year. Okay? And I envy that. I think that's great. All right. Now, obviously, we'll never get that because, we're going to a 16-team conference. But from a neutral observer, a 9-game conference schedule would make the SEC better. It would. So you, the fan, would benefit from that. You would, because you would get more marquee matchups. And the more great college football games, the better, because we already have so few of them every year, which I like. So the more great games, the better. Now, Greg Sankey is not going to want a 9-game conference schedule if the college football playoff stays at 4 or if it only goes up to 6. Now, a 9-game conference schedule won't matter if it goes to 12. It just won't. So if the college football playoff goes to 12 games or 12 teams, which I think it will, then a 9-game conference schedule is definitely in the works because it allows you to double dip. You would have more teams in the playoff, more than likely, and you would have more great games. But the key of the SEC, and Greg Sankey has said this, and I know this because I've interviewed Greg Sankey twice before, and I've heard him say this at SEC Media Days. He doesn't care so much about competitive balance. All he cares about is getting a team from his conference into the college football playoff. And the key to getting into the college football playoff is not winning games. It is not. I know we tend to think that. The big key to get into the playoff is winning as many games as possible. Not true. The most important thing is avoiding losses. And those are two different things, right? Two completely different things. You want to avoid having more losable games on the schedule. The power of the SEC, even of itself, if you only have 8 conference games, you're allowed to lose one of them or just one game in general, and you're still getting an SEC team in the playoff. A 9-game conference schedule opens you up for more 2-loss SEC teams. It just does, just because there's another guaranteed game that is tougher that's going to be on the schedule. So, if you're Greg Sankey, the truth is you don't really care. You want as many teams in the playoff as you possibly can. And whatever he feels is the best way to get more SEC teams in the playoff is what he's going to do, right? No other team goes 15-0 again. Hey, there you go. There's another reason. Now, something else is very interesting, and as many of you have, or as Chris has noted right here, LSU does have a home and away with Clemson scheduled. And we just did a video on this before I went and got engaged. No big deal. Before I went to England, I did a video on this. It aired while I was in England. And LSU does play Clemson in 2025 and 2026. How much does that change now that the conferences are getting switched up? I don't know. If that is the case, you don't want a 9-game conference schedule for daggum sure. But a lot is going to change. A lot of contracts are going to be rewritten. It's going to be crazy. So LJ says, I don't want the 9-game conference schedule because it would disincentivize us scheduling non-Power 5 teams. And that's the difficulty. And I do tend to agree with this. And that will no doubt be a major side effect, that you do miss out on those LSU Clemson games, right? And not just like now, but just in the future. So here's what I'll say about that, LJ. It is a really good point. But what I would say is, so what, right? If Clemson is really great, we'll see him in the playoff. More, and also with a 9-game conference schedule, you're going to see more of Georgia. You're going to see more of the other SEC teams, obviously Texas and Oklahoma. I'm really excited to get to play Texas in Tiger Stadium. I love symmetry. I love schedules that even itself out. It bothers me that we didn't get Texas in Tiger Stadium, right? So actually, I am sort of glad we didn't play them that year, because 2020 we were a bad football team. Still, he did lose. What's up, Dev? Good to see you. UCLA, USC, and Clemson. It's true. 2024 is a gauntlet, right? But Clemson's not on 2024. They're 2025 and 2026. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong on that. I think that's right. Because you wouldn't schedule three non-conference Power 5s in the same year. Yeah. And here's the thing, Pegasus. I don't care. I really don't. Like, I hate it that it would be harder for LSU to get in because, there's going to be more conference games. But here's the truth, is that the way things are right now have been unfair for LSU for over a decade. The way the schedule is now, it is unfair that LSU has to play Florida every year, and A&M for the past 7 years has gotten to play South Carolina, even though they're heading in the right direction now, and Alabama's gotten to play the corpse of Tennessee. And now Tennessee is going in the right direction. Now in Florida went in the opposite direction. So for the first time, we actually see that, right? It's unfair as it is to LSU. And it's especially unfair. And we do have some Auburn fans that tune in. Shout out to Mark, shout out to Vernon. It is unfair to Auburn fans that they got to play Georgia every year. And I know there's a lot of Auburn fans that want to keep Georgia on the schedule because it is the longest tenured SEC rivalry in the conference, which is kind of crazy. You wouldn't think that would be the matchup that's been played the longest, but it is. If I'm an Auburn fan, I don't want to play Georgia every year, knowing that everyone else doesn't, knowing that everyone else in the West doesn't. But that's the thing. Like it would make it harder for everyone, right? I would rather it be more equitable than it just being harder for LSU and it being harder for Auburn than it is for all the other teams in the West, right? So, and at the same time, you would get better matchups. So for me, getting to a national championship game in a college football playoff is relatively random in and of itself. Why not just make it better? Remember, the schedule format of the SEC right now sucks. It sucks. It's horrible. The way that the 8-game conference schedule is right now is nefarious, honestly. You're not a conference if you only play a team once every 6 years. That's not a conference. It's not a conference at all. It's not. It's the SEC West and the SEC East. That is true. LJ, if that happened, I would freak out if that actually happened. Now, I doubt Scott Woodward would allow that to happen. If he did, then I don't think any rational LSU athletic director will ever sign off on that. If he does, then he got paid a large sum of money. A 2019 LSU, no problem with that. Exactly. And also, something else that I think would help the SEC is a freshening up, right? Here's something that drives me a little crazy about college football, right? Number one, it's a sport where the athletes themselves have the most monotonous lives, right? You never, get to play preseason games. You never really get to travel. You never really get to see new places. And the second thing is every year the schedule is the same. You play essentially the same exact teams at the same exact time of year, right? It's the only sport where it's really like that. It's very strange. I would really like the schedules to get freshened up a bit. And I also think it would make it harder for Alabama. I do, because Nick Saban has their schedule down to an exact science. And the SEC is never they're happy that Alabama's schedule is essentially the same every year, right? And it's in our schedules essentially the same every year as well. But Alabama, Nick Saban, the master preparer, knows what he has to do as far as getting his team ready to play at the right time of year, right? You get, cupcake before Auburn, bye week before Alabama, before LSU, week team before Texas A&M, trust that Tennessee's going to suck. And then, you're not ever really playing any top 15 recruiters in back-to-back weeks. So, that's not good for, I don't like that. Freshen it up, switch it up. Don't have the same teams playing at the same exact time every year. Oh man. Now, if Texas A&M's athletic director allowed that to happen, or more notably Arkansas's AD, Hunter Yurachek, that would be crazy. Really good to see you. So yeah, super chat's wide open if you guys want to talk anything LSU football related. Obviously, we're talking very general SEC stuff. So feel free to drop a dime, whatever you want to talk about. We'll go straight to it. Let's see here. Do feel like it's important to mention this right here. Share screen, Chrome tab, right here. Bang. So, big story here. All right. So, via 247 Sports, Brandon Huffman. Okay. Jaden Rashada has locked in his 2 official visits. Okay. He's going to have more official visits after this. So, we're going to do a video on this probably tomorrow. So, be on the lookout for this tomorrow on Wednesday. I will be traveling on Thursday, so we might be doing a live stream from Tiger Stadium on Thursday night. So be on the lookout for that. I am traveling for a funeral for our dear friend King Robert. A lot of you remember Robert. Big part of what we were at PHL. He's still always going to be a big part of us in our hearts. I know I got emotional, but it's true. So we're going to go lay Robert to rest. And it's going to be a sad day for us all. Now, good to see you, Edward O. A few of you have commented on, Shay Dixon. I wish him nothing but the best. I've known Shay for a long time. He used to come hang out at KLSU, my old radio stomping grounds. And I wish Shay nothing but the best. Whereas I've always read his stuff. He's really good. But to me, the big story here is Jaden Rashada right here. So he's going to be able to go on a few more official visits after these 2. I'm not sure what is going to happen here. Obviously, a 5-star quarterback. LSU doesn't have a quarterback in this class. This could be a highest bidder situation. I don't know too much about specifically his recruitment. Jaden is more of a dual threat quarterback. Not what I've seen, just based on his highlights. He's a thrower. Now I do think he's probably got a little more juice as far as a runner than Dante Moore does. But both of those guys just are mostly pocket assassins. I mean, they're athletic, they can run, but yeah. For me, I do think Rashada, if LSU lands him, this would be one of the most unique recruits in college football history coming to LSU. We have not had an out-of-state 5-star quarterback land at LSU since Russell Shepard. Now, we've gotten 5-star quarterback play from out-of-state quarterbacks, Matt and really Joe Burrow. But, I think as far as Rashada is concerned, this is going to be a long shot for LSU. Obviously, you always want to be the last official visit, but the bottom line is they are getting them on campus, and who knows? We don't know what can happen. So we'll see. So big story here. Obviously, quarterback position moves the needle more than anything else. So we'll see. But yeah, Jaden's got some juice. He's got some juice in the running game, but really, he's the kid throws dimes. He throws real dimes. But yeah, I wish Shay nothing but the best. Let me see. What's up, John? Good to see you. Lots of comments flying in. It's always good. Mike, what's up, man? LSU should play Ole Miss anytime Halloween is on a Saturday. True. The issue is every year Halloween weekend is the LSU bye week before Alabama. And I don't think either team wants to change that bye week before Alabama. Rashada's going to the highest bidder. Uh, well, if someone at LSU wants to pay Rashada a lot of money, uh, it's not my money. It's not your money. Huh? 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 If that's what it takes, so be it. Good question here from Richie. So the way I look at the quarterbacks now, and once again, we don't have a uh we don't have a senior we don't have the senior tape per se. Ricky Collins is the next Brandon Harris. Uh no, I don't. Why don't you like Ricky Collins? I don't see how anyone wouldn't want a like you want to talk about running ability. I mean, he's probably got better running ability than a lot of the 5-star guys. Not totally refined as a passer just yet, but this is a guy who's been a 3-sport athlete, right? So, like, here's the biggest difference between like Ricky Collins and Rashada and Moore. So, like, uh, th- Ricky Collins played 3 sports, right? So Dante Moore, and this was a good report here from On Three, has been mostly training at quarterback for a while. He's been working out with a Michigan quarterback since he was in the 8th grade. And Rashad has also been a little bit more football focused. So, Ricky Collins went to the Elite 11 in Baton Rouge and won a spot to the Elite 11 finals. It's not easy. And at those camps, you're not running, right? You're just throwing. So once again, Brandon Harris wasn't good, but it doesn't mean Ricky Collins is going to be the next Brandon Harris. I don't know. It's just kind of strange, right? I guarantee you I don't want Ricky Collins to be the next Brandon Harris. Carter, where do you place him on your QB list? Ricky Collins or Jaden Rashada, or be a little more specific here, Richie, and I will happily answer your question. Um, See, I want a pocket passer that can get out of trouble. We have too many weapons. I like Collins, but I don't think he throws well enough. That's fine, but I mean, like, you think he throws so poorly that you think he's going like he's Brandon Harris, right? I don't. I mean, it's really harsh because then if you feel that way, that means you shouldn't like Collins at all, right? If you think he's the next Brandon Harris. So, as much as I like Brandon Harris personally, he wasn't good at all. So if you think he's the next Brandon Harris, you can't say that you like him because nobody likes bad quarterback play. Uh let's see here, Rashada. So this is how I have the 5-star quarterbacks ranked right now. Okay. I actually have the Nico kid from Tennessee number one, right? I think his arm is the best. It's got a lot of pop in it. I like his swagger. I like that he's bold enough to, blaze his own path and go to Tennessee. Might be some extra cash involved in that, but so be it. I think his arm is special. I think he fits the ball in extremely tight windows. And look, I know a lot of people fear his body won't hold up because it's tall and lanky. Um, Still, I just think he's the best. Now, after that, it's probably a mixture of Dante Moore, Arch Manning, and Jaden Rashada. I am not as high on Malachi Nelson as everyone else, right? Uh, But then again, he is going to the absolute best system to play quarterback, and that's USC with a Pac-12 schedule. And, he's going to get to start year 2. So his framework and his path to starting is the clearest out of any of the quarterbacks. So he's got by far the best situation out of any of the quarterbacks. So if you want to factor that in, then, I like Malachi Nelson a little bit better. So, for me, I've got to go Nico as my number one guy. And then after that, it's probably more Rashada at that 2-3 spot. And then after that, it's Arch, Nelson, and those guys. Now, do I like Eli Holstein better than Ricky Collins? It's tough, right? It's really tough, especially if it's hard to keep the Bama bias out of that. We'll see. Tyler, round of applause. Tyler, our first super chat of the night. Let me see some clap emojis for Tyler. Tyler, you get to pick the next topic. I want to see who's going to match that $4.99. Let's go. I want to see who's going to join the PHL T-shirt club tonight. Let's go. Let's go. I want to see who's going to up the ante and go $9.99. I haven't had a Hundo Club member in a while. That'd be great too. What's up, LA Mom? Good to see the photo change. There you go. I don't mean to bully each and every one of you into a Navi change, but I did it to Tony the Tiger. It obviously worked out really well. Angelo, good to see you. Yes, Ricky Collins is committed to Purdue. So I've already gotten any. There you go, Richie. There you go. So, Richie, I'll stay on your topic. Thank you for the very generous super chat. I want to see who's going to match at $9.99. And don't forget, you can join the PHL T-shirt club tonight. All you got to do is follow the instructions. If you want to join the Booger Band Club, let's go, Blanche. Look at this. There we go. We're raining those dollar bills, y'all. Let's go. So, Blanche, you get to pick the next topic. Tyler, you do too as well. So, Richie, as far as how those quarterbacks are tiered, that's just how I see it. Now, I know there's people that are way smarter than me. Cooper Patagna, who's originally from New Orleans, he's worked at 5 different personnel departments in college football. He is a huge believer in Ricky Collins. Huge. He thinks he's really special. So I think so too. I think the ceiling is there, right? I really do. Now, as far as how I like these guys, I will say this. I do think Rashada made a lot of difficult throws, really, really, really difficult throws. And I touched on it in my last quarterback piece. Arch Manning's on the avatar because, of course, he is. So yeah, it's tough. Naima Cat, Liverpool lost, unfortunately. So Blanche, here you go. I think LJ's a member of the PHL T-shirt club. Who what is the cartoon behind you, LJ? Okay, so who is the offensive lineman that LSU should target for 2023? Really good question. Now, let's start off with this, okay? There are really no great offensive linemen in 2023 in the state of Louisiana. So normally, Blanche, as far as me looking at the next recruiting class, I focus on Louisiana first, right? Because those are the guys you can always rely on. And I feel like that should always be the bedrock of your program. And if you go look at the 2023 list of Louisiana prospects, there really aren't any offensive linemen there, okay? Now, you saw it happen last year where, LSU was in it for Julian Arbella. Didn't happen. The year before, Tristan Lee didn't happen. So I'm going to be honest with you. I haven't really looked at the national offensive lineman yet for 2023. Now, do I think LSU's got a chance to go get a couple of these other elite 5 stars? maybe, my dream kid is, DJ Hicks. I would love him to be a part of LSU. I think, at Texas A&M is going to be tough to beat. So let's pull up 2023 offensive lineman. Let's take a look together. Maybe some of you are familiar with some of these prospects. I am not. I'm really not whatsoever. I've been mostly focusing on quarterbacks because they do commit earlier. So for me, obviously, Zalance Hurd is the name. Now, he's at Neville. I have him as a top 5 Louisiana prospect. I think he's really good. He really pops when you go look at Will Campbell's tape. And, for me, as far as Zalance Hurd, some people believe he's a better defensive lineman. So, different recruiting services are torn on him. I do think he's really good. Now, for me, my top 3 2023 targets in general, especially if you take quarterbacks out of the mix, my top 3 Louisiana guys right now are Shelton Sampson, Zalance Hurd, and Derek Williams out of New Iberia. Now, that's not how the recruiting services have it ranked, but, that's how I see it. Now, outside of Zalance Hurd, there's no like Will Campbell, Emory Jones kind of player. Well, in particular, Will Campbell, because he was a top 50 guy. But Zalance Hurd is a very similar prospect to that of Emory Jones. So, pull this up right here. And top offensive line recruits right here. And once again, I've really haven't looked at a whole lot of these guys, to be honest. See, a lot of these guys are northern as well. Caden Proctor out of Virginia, Massachusetts, Utah. One there out of Texas, Ohio, Illinois, Georgia, Pennsylvania. So that's just offensive tackle. So there you go. But yes, Blanche, Zalance Hurd is the name you got to know, right? Now, it's very interesting, and I'm glad you brought this up, Blanche. I went and I looked at Mel Kiper's list of the top offensive line prospects for next year's NFL draft. Okay? The first name that really popped out to me, Blanche, was Osiris Torrance, who was a no-name kid that went to UL, lit it up, and now he's at Florida. Okay? I loved Osiris Torrance. They call him Cybo. LSU was in the mix. Frank Wilson tried his best. Didn't work out. Had a few people close to Osiris reach out to me about this young man. Okay? They watch the channel. They know Cybo pretty well. And it didn't work out. He went to Florida, played for his old coach. Makes a lot of sense. But what was interesting is Cedric Van Pran was also really high on Mel Kiper's center board. I think he was the number 3 ranked center. So, those are 2 Louisiana offensive linemen. Van Pran, of course, out of Warren Easton, went to Georgia. That sucked. He's a really good football player. There's no other way around it. And that just happens to be, what's been the most problematic position at LSU since 2019 has been center, right? It's not just the fact that we struggled there. It's the fact that, Liam didn't have a backup. So I didn't know it was so hard to develop a center, but it is. But what else was interesting, and this lets you know how much Ed Orgeron fumbled this bag, Mel Kiper's list was full of players that played under Ed Orgeron but transferred. Okay? Can't really blame Coach O for Eric Gilbert, and that was inevitable. But Ed Orgeron ran off Siaki Ika, which to me will piss me off until the be-all, end-all. Because my biggest concern about this LSU defense is that we don't have a Siaki Ika. I would kill for Siaki Ika. just some large human being that exists, right? And plays that zero nose. I would kill for Siaki Ika to be on this team. And that would allow Mason and Jaqueline to do their thing, right? But Ed Orgeron said, no. And Ika bought into the 4-3. He was playing, but we wouldn't play him, and he would dominate. Go turn on Siaki Ika's South Carolina tape from 2020. He is throwing people around. I don't know why we didn't start him. But still. Now, it did allow Neil Farrell to, explode. But we could have had all those guys. What positions will we lose players to the portal until season starts? Rob, thank you so much. Rob, you support me so much. I really do appreciate it. I do love the profile photo change. I love it when you guys switch up the profile photos. It makes it a lot funner for me. It makes it a lot funner for everyone else. I get to know more about your lives through the photos, which is really cool. Now, your last profile photo was pretty epic. Got to say, Rob, this is great, though. You got those dark beers, man. I know I'm a wimp. I can't do the dark beer thing. I got to have fruity beers in my life. Now, I will say this, okay? So Blake called me today, and he called me when he was making a Smoothie King order, and I am going to judge Blake until the end of eternity for how gross his Smoothie King order was. I was like, really? I'm not even going to say it. I'm not even going to say it. I'm not going to expose him like that. But it was gross. What positions will we lose players to the portal until season starts? Good question here. So, Rob, this would be the question I would ask you. Why do players enter the portal? Well, they're disgruntled. Tyler, thank you. I really do appreciate you. Okay. How many people from now until the start of the season right now are going to be disgruntled? Well, I could see a quarterback definitely, saying sayonara. I could definitely see that. I'm still going to be shocked. I'm still shocked that there's 4 quarterbacks on the roster right now. You're a very lucky fan base that you still have 4. Now, it'd be better if you knew which one of those guys was the best. But for me, which other players are going to be disgruntled? Well, I'll tell you this, Rob. I do think there were a lot of players towards the end of spring that just kind of disappeared, and we didn't really hear anything. Like, for instance, take Philip Webb. Could he have gotten injured? Very well could have gotten injured. But he was a guy that you were seeing a lot playing, one of the backup jack linebacker positions. And towards the end of the year or towards the end of spring, you just never really saw him. Right? Now, here's the thing. Maybe he did enter the portal and I missed it. No. It's still on the roster. I hope he stays on the roster. He could be a very viable special teamer. He's obviously a really athletic guy. So that could be a position where you see some guys pack their bags. Linebackers, a room that's relatively deep. I think everybody in that group stays. I think everybody in the defensive back group stays because it's not necessarily a deep room, even though there's a lot of transfers that came in. That's why a lot of transfers came in, because they could play right now. Now, could a running back enter the portal? Yes, absolutely. Could a wide receiver enter the portal? Absolutely. Could it be that Landon Ibieta passes up one of those wide receivers? I think he can. So all those positions we could see portaling. But I think the position, Rob, where you're going to see a lot of it is offensive line. because while it is not a deep room as far as like playable depth is concerned, it is not a room with quality depth. So there's a lot of guys at Brian Kelly who, by the way, a lot of people can have criticisms of Brian Kelly. The one thing you cannot criticize is his offensive line development, right? And we're going to talk about that during running back week. Okay. It's been really good. So if you could trust Brian Kelly with something, he knows what a good offensive lineman looks like, right? I could see a lot of those kind of guys packing their bags as well. All right. So Robbie also asked you, I went on Blake's show last night and he asked you about Harold Perkins, right? Very interesting young man. Okay. Very affable young man, big personality. I find him pretty funny. I went back and I looked at some of his interviews, and he's a very free flowing personality, right? Like even when he was committed to Texas A&M, in his interviews, he was like saying, "Well, all these other schools are coming after me." So it was probably the softest commitment I think I've ever seen. Right now, he's on campus. He's ready to go, and I guess he's going to play defense. Now, for me, Rob, as far as Harold Perkins is concerned, he's a special running back. Like, I mean, it's really good. Like, I went back and I looked at his running back tape, and it was pretty amazing. Like, sometimes I do think it was just him out athleting guys. So it wasn't so much like making guys miss. And then obviously, at the college level, you have to be able to do that. But man, his running back tape is really good. And, I reached out to a few people who know more about running back and have played the position. And they said, yeah, his running back tape is really special. And I even had someone told me today that he would be LSU's best running back right now. So, I do think he's going to focus on defense. I think that's a position he wants to play. But man, I mean, he's just special. He's really, really, really a special specimen. All right. He was my number one player in 2022, period. I said that when he was committed to Texas A&M. So we've got someone really special here. And, a lot it's going to come down to what he wants out of his college career and what he wants out of his career at LSU. We do know this about him, Rob, that his family wanted him to go to LSU. All right. His uncle was probably our best recruiter when it comes to LSU. He's really good. He's a really good football player. Now, how all of that translates to the college level, he's a little undersized for a linebacker right now at 210. But the thing about him being on defense is with how many dual threat quarterbacks LSU is going to play next year, I do like having someone like, for instance, right now, athletically, as far as like speed and running guys down and making tackles in the front seven, he's already the best at doing that out of anybody we have on the roster. I'm comfortable saying that. Now, there is more to the position than just that, but that is a very valuable trait. It really is, right? Like, it's not a valuable trait in the NFL, right? You actually have to have, refined pass rush moves, and, you got to be a little bit more experienced. But at the college level, linebackers can still out athlete people, right? We've seen it with Chase on, right? So, if Perkins puts in the work, and even if he played running back, I would want him to be at 215. 247 has him listed at 210. What we do know about, and we're actually going to touch on this in running back week as well. What we do know about running backs is they do gain weight, right? For the most part, freshman running backs and guys that have like a 210 frame. And I've been looking at this stuff for a long time now, for about over a month. Most SEC level players that are around that 210 level do gain about 5 pounds regardless of position, right? So I do think it's not going to be hard for him to add weight to that frame. I think he can bulk up. and get bigger and be ready for a more physical SEC. Because in high school, his main job was playing running back. And not only was it playing running back, it was playing running back in like a wing T. So the actual flow of the game and how the game is going to be played is going to be different for him at this next level. And it's going to take some adjusting. But man, dude, he's so special. He really, really, really is special. It's the ball skills, it's the football IQ. He does some really crazy things when it comes to reading the game. And he's got a motor, right? Some of the sacks and stuff he made were motor plays where, he just runs around people and chases them down. Heard he showed up 5 to 10 pounds heavier. It's great. So yeah, if he's at 220, he'll be ready to go. Pierce wants Harold Perkins at RB. But he's on campus. That's the most important thing. Esteban, it's a good question. Thank you always, Esteban, for supporting me. Which DL players transfer after summer camp? So this is where it gets a little tough, right? Because let me ask you this, Esteban, right? For the longest, we always knew Ed Orgeron as, this amazing evaluator of defensive line talent, right? Like, for instance, we don't land Arden Key if it wasn't for Ed Orgeron. Cliff, what's good? But, I go back to the Siaki Ika thing. That still pissed me off so much. It really did. But the one thing that really bothered me about Coach O is he hyped up Bryce Langston so much. And that was not good for that young man, right? And I liked Bryce Langston a lot. I was really excited, because it was down between LSU and Florida, and the young man was from Florida. But in high school, like, he played the standing jack linebacker role, okay? And he has the body of a defensive tackle. So they were trying to make him a defensive tackle, right? That's a hard transition, right? Those are two diametrically different positions, even though they line up next to each other. That you do different things. You read games differently. Your hand is in the dirt. A lot of people don't feel comfortable with their hand in the dirt, right? It takes a while to get used to it. It's a different sport, really. Just simply between guys that play with their hand in the dirt and guys that don't, right? Most offensive linemen now don't ever put their hand in the dirt. It is a rare circumstance, right? And, the Langston spring was tough, right? So, yeah, I don't know. And, a few of you bringing up the Arden Key coin flip story. Maybe it's an urban myth, maybe it's not. And then, that kind of takes away from Coach O as well, as far as like the defensive line guru. And of course, Cortez Kennedy, Warren Sapp, so on and so on, right? But, the overhyping of Bryce Langston, saying like he was like comparing him to Tyson Jackson and Michael Brockers, these guys that have made millions and millions of dollars in the NFL. I just didn't like it. I just didn't quite get it. If you're doing that to Mason Smith, perfectly fine. Completely different kid, was from Louisiana, and there was just no way that Mason Smith was not going to be special, right? Interviews well, does everything well, do that with Mason Smith, all right? I think every single one of us knew Mason Smith was going to be really, really good. But Bryce Langston, really, Like it put him in a tough spot. So I hope Bryce Langston stays on, but it's going to be tough, right? Because he's got Wingo and all those guys in front of him. Chris, I know you're a big Wingo guy, so we'll see. Coop, welcome to the channel, Coop DeVille. Where my zero fans at? How good do you think this D line will be next year? Are they really overhyped? I am a little worried about the defensive line. I am. I really am. Like, I do think as far as, and I've touched on this a few other times, I do think run fits are going to be a challenge because what you do as a 4-3 defensive lineman is different than what you do in a 3-4 as far as two gapping and all that is concerned. But we'll see. You know, when you have Mason Smith and Jaquelin Roy, you always got a chance. You do. And I get it, Esteban, but like here's something that I try not to do. Okay. And I do it. We all do it. We're in sports media. We do this, right? Don't compare young men to like all-time greats, right? Unless you really think they're that great or unless you really think they can handle it. Man, it's hard. Like for instance, like I do think Emory Jones is going to be a really good football player for LSU. Really, really good football player. Okay. So, you know, I said, hey, I see some Lyle in him. Now, Lyle is the best offensive lineman of the modern era. That's how I view it. But I did see flashes of that. And I think Emory Jones is going to be a great player at LSU. But like Michael Brockers, really? Like Michael Brockers was a monster. What's up, Prez? O-line and the DBs are the bigger concern than the defensive line. Tony, what's good? LJ, hold up, Carter. I thought DL was our main strength. No, wide receiver is LSU's main strength, and it's not close, right? You have Jack Besh and Kayshawn, who not only have like insanely high ceilings, especially Kayshawn, they have really high floors as well. But the thing is, LJ, is you're switching up how they're playing, right? And run fits become an issue, right? But we'll see. Hopefully I am wrong about that. But you know, it's different. How you fit the run in a 3-man odd front is different than what you've been doing the last couple of years in a 4-3. So defensively, you would probably say LSU's defensive line is their main strength. Our front seven could be the best in the SEC or in the NCAA. Interesting. I agree. I agree. Mason's really good. Obviously, Jaquelin Roy's really good. Are we better than Bama's front? Will Anderson, Dallas Turner, that's really tough to beat. I don't know too much about Bama's linebackers next year. Because I know Drew Sanders went in the portal. I know, you know, they lost Harris and Moses. Moses has been gone 2 years now, right? But yeah. So we are about an hour in. Once again, I want to shout out our friends at Presley Collection and PresleyCollection.com. Let's see here. Don't forget the DBU watches are on pre-order right now. Go to PresleyCollection.com. Type in the promo code PHL, and for this watch, you get an extra $30 off at $99.99, baby. Presley Collection, PresleyCollection.com. There's a Mike Denbrock right there. And there's Roger Dodger right there with the PHL t-shirt. You know, you want yourself a PHL shirt. I think Coop DeVille is going to join the PHL t-shirt club tonight. I feel it. I feel it in his bones. I feel it in his chicken bones, his chicken wings, his chicken thighs. Pegasus, when you get your PHL shirt, I got some. Actually, I do have some Real Madrid stuff I'm going to send you. So I grew up a big David Beckham fan, as was like every young American soccer player. But, you know, Real Madrid had some of my favorite midfielders. I was a big Zidane fan. So I had a Zidane jersey, had a Robinho jersey. I just gave that one away. Let's see. We definitely have the talent to win 9 or 10. Just can't it come together right now over me. Bump, dum, da da dum. Oh, yeah, Pierce, you're a PHL t-shirt club member. Gotta love it. I want to see who's going to match Rob's 1999. Eight and 4, 9 and 3. I think that's very fair. That would be really good too. Let's pull this up real quick. Let's see this. Once again, you got to think about winnable games. Which games are 50-50 games? And I think every Power 5 game on the schedule is no better than a 70-30. If you get what I'm saying, like 7 out of every 10 times you beat this team. I think there are so many games on here that are coin flips. Ace King versus Queen Queen, 58-42s. You know? This is where I miss Esteban so much being a part of our chats. I miss a Jared Small and Sony Fanua reference. You never get a Jared Small and Sony Fanua reference. But there you go. Ha, ha, ha. Chris, maybe this cup. I know I shout him out all the time for it. This is legit the best like tumbler I've ever had. Chris, this tumbler is not leaked. This tumbler has not sweated. And everything in here is just cold. And look at you. My God, I appreciate you. I'm even repping his product. So if you're interested, if you want one of these PHL tumblers, feel free. Chris and I will work with you on that. I don't have these on sale. They do take time to make, and Chris can, potentially personalize some stuff on here. So I got the Eye of the Tiger on here. Also got the LSU PHL logo right here. Greg, what's good? And I really do appreciate it because, as you guys and gals know, gas has gone up. And it's going to be a trip to go put our dear friend King Robert to rest. So yeah, I'm traveling down to BR this weekend, and really excited. Every time I get to go to BR, I get to see my family. But people like you, Chris, help make that happen. I really do appreciate it. So show Chris some love, not only for donating, but also, you guys know, when it comes to comments, Chris is like one of the sharpest LSU fans out there. And that's part of the point of this channel, right? We do these deep breakdowns. This is for LSU fans that love deep LSU discussion. I know we are, 96, 95 days away from the season. That's still a long way, right? There's a lot that's going to happen from now until then. So one of you 88 people you know you're a diehard LSU football fan. So if you haven't done it already, please subscribe. And Chris, the floor is yours. We'll chat about whatever you want. Now, Chris made a good point a minute ago about, 8-4, 9-3, right? I know you guys are probably tired of me making this point. I don't think Arkansas is a can't miss team, right? I don't think they're special. I don't think Mississippi State's special either. I don't think Ole Miss is special either. But they're no longer just automatic wins. Even in those less years that we lost to those teams, every now and then they'd have a good team, but then they would have a bad team. It's rare that all three of them are good, and they are good, right? Creek, good to see you. Danny girl, what's up? We're showing love to Chris. You guys know how much I appreciate Chris. And, of course, Chris is a vital member of the PHL T-shirt club. I don't know why the photos move around so much. Let's see here. Here's a guy Chris likes a lot right here, Dante Moore. Here's a Joe Burrow. This photo always makes me happy. That even if Dante Moore doesn't pick LSU, these kids look up to Joe Burrow. The fact that, he got to have this moment with Joe, I'm jealous. There's Chris right there. Danny and Creek jumping in at the same time gives me a second win in my heart. In my heart. Those two are my favorite PHLers. Yeah, and this is also true. And once again, Chris making another good comment here. Kentucky's got arguably the best running back in the conference, especially based on what he's done the past couple of years. I don't see the Will Levis hype. I just don't. But the draft guys are in love with this guy. And they've had the steadiest coach in the East. So, it's impressive. And Tennessee's offense is a very, very good offense, right? They're going to be a tough beat. I know it's going to be Tiger Stadium. When Tennessee comes to Tiger Stadium, things get a little frisky. No, my main point is they're not going to be a runover, right? Like, for instance, Arkansas has a really good center in Ricky Stromberg, who's been a part of that program for a while now. Their offensive line is going to be really good with Sam Pittman. Okay. Now, their defensive line is up in the air, but they did get a huge piece of their defense back. Their safety, Jalen Catalon, decided to come back, right? That's huge. And if you don't believe that, go back and look at our national championship teams. A lot of our national championship teams were littered with draftable guys that decided to come back, right? Jacob Hesser has talked about this before. Getting Glenn Dorsey back with the first-round draft grade was, the difference, right? And, 2019, we only had 3 players selected the year before. So Arkansas gets a guy that should have been a draft pick, but he got hurt and he came back. So I don't think Arkansas is a national championship roster. They just, every year, Sam Pittman gets these guys buying back in. And he got 2 coordinators to come back who got really good job offers. They've been getting interviews, right? Very interesting. It is interesting, right? LSU, obviously Roy, Ojulari, Kayshawn, and, some people have Ali Gay right there. It's very interesting. Something else that's very interesting is how many draft guys have former LSU players on, and that's in the rear view. We've talked a lot about Ika tonight. We've also talked, a good bit. We talked some Elias Ricks, and we also mentioned Eric Gilbert. Still crazy. All three of those guys are probably first-round picks next year. Had them all on the roster at some point. Creek, thank you so much. Appreciate you. Butte, the fourth LSU guy? So, wait, so they have really the fourth? I would bet a good bit of money that Kayshawn is the first guy off the board, right? Like, that's crazy. Creek, you get to pick the next topic. I know you're new to the chat tonight. And yeah, he wants to talk SEC. But really quickly to Chris's super chat. That's crazy. Which mock draft are you looking at? Todd McShay. Okay. So he has Roy Ojulari and who else? Gay? Very interesting. Or what? Or Seven Banks. I know he's been a Seven Banks fan. Man. I'm so Creek wants to talk on Marion Miller, so we'll get to that in a second. Man. LeBron Landry for a 6-year would have been undefeated. Noah Grids. Let's go. Let's go. That's crazy. So to finish up Chris's super chat here, Gay. So it's Gay, Ojulari, and Jaquelin Roy over Kayshawn mother effing Butte. Todd McShay? Really? Now, I would be perfectly fine with that because, I don't care which order the LSU players go in, right? As long as everybody gets drafted, I'm happy. But Kayshawn Butte, okay. So let's talk about Kayshawn. He's going to be the first player selected off the board, and he's not going to fall out of the top 15. Now, it's a little bit different because two quarterbacks are going to go 1 and 2, and no worse than 1 and 5. And Will Anderson is as big of a lock as a top 10 pick as you're ever going to see. So it's tougher to move up on this board, right? So for instance, Stingley would not have gone 3rd overall if he was coming out this year just because of the quarterbacks and the pass rushers. But Kayshawn has an early breakout age, right? So that's a metric that they look at. How dominant were you early on? Kayshawn was dominant in his first year, right? Like really, really dominant. So they would consider that a really early breakout age, like Jamar Chase. Speed score, elite sprinter, elite speed, elite breakaway ability, amazing broken tackle ability, despite not having like the bulkiest frame. Intermediate routes, check. Deep routes, check. Screens, check. Blocking, check. Good attitude, check. The only red flag this young man has is injury history now with the ankle. Right? Kayshawn's the best player on this team. And I am not sure if it's close. I would love to hear Todd McShay's reasoning for Kayshawn at wide receiver, by the way, in a year that we had 20,000 receivers go in the first round. Chris, you know how I am. Very interesting. And I know you don't agree with that, but that's honestly lunacy to me. It really is. Unless you want to say, hey, the injury was bad and he has some kind of history that these players don't return back from this kind of ankle injury. Still, a receiver with an early breakout age and that kind of speed, verified speed, mile per hour and 100-meter dash speed, you are out of your mind. Now, I could see contested catchability kind of being a thing, like as far as like jump balls. Kayshawn hasn't done most of his damage as far as like that is concerned, and that's a big part of the NFL. But man, if you get open, what are you going to do? You know, you're not going to have many contested catches if you're just burning people. And Kayshawn has had contested catches anyway. So yeah. So Creek wants to talk Amarion Miller. Let's do it. Nola Grizz, what's good? But yeah, did Kayshawn really have his new NIL car stolen? I don't know if he did. I'll track him down. I'll go Grand Theft Auto mode and find it. Like not opposite Grand Theft because that's what happened to him. But I would go find it in Grand Theft Auto from the person who initially Grand Theft Auto'd the thing. Nola Grizz, thank you so much. Nola Grizz, I'm still mad at you because you and your lovely wife are PHL T-shirt club members, and I still haven't gotten a photo. You did send me a photo of like point blank, and I actually included it in a video. I included it in our quarterback deep dive. I don't know if you saw it or not, but I want a photo of full all out Nola Grizz. I want it in front of your restaurant in New Orleans, which by the way, I do need to come check out. And this is where it gets interesting, Esteban. I don't think so. I don't think so. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. I do think Jordan Addison playing with Caleb Williams, I think Jordan Addison can jump him. I think Jackson Smith and Jigba is probably rated higher than Kayshawn because, you know, he's done more recently. I could see a guy that is sliding up boards for the next year is Quentin Johnson out of TCU. He's a really good talent. Josh Downs out of North Carolina is someone that has some traits. So yeah, I could see. I could see it. Oak Oven VIP, let's go. I'm all about it, baby. Hookup game, Mick. Man, my DMs are open, man. But dang, you just want to put it out in the open? Are you talking to me or are you talking to somebody else? Yeah, we're going to meet up before the Florida State game. Still trying to figure out the best place to do it and how to do it. But yeah, you guys want to do it on LSU's campus as well. We did one last year and it was a big success. And it was kind of like last minute and I loved it. We had PHLers come hang out. I agree with Chris. So Creek, you wanted to talk about Amarion Miller. I don't think the Miller decommitment is as bad as a lot of people think. He committed to the old staff and needs to rebuild that relationship. True. So let's go through a few statistics here as far as Amarion Miller is concerned. I reached out to a few dynasty guys who, you know, actually do this for a living. They look at high school tape. They get as much data as they possibly can. And Marion Miller is not really that fast. Like, is he explosive? Yeah, but he's not like a blazer. So he also just blew by his competition so easily in Vivian, Louisiana. And, you know, there's nothing he could do about that. I think he's a really good player. I do. But to me, I do think there is a gap between him and Shelton Sampson. Now, in a perfect world, I would like both of them. But I think Omarion Miller is probably closer to the Prean kid than he is Shelton Sampson. I think Sampson's really special. I do. I think, year one, he's going to help LSU win football games. And that's going to be huge, right? Knowing, we got to replenish that depth. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Could LSU get back into it? Yes, but decommitments signing with the initial school they committed to happens roughly 5% of the time, right? So, look, I know Sampson is a 5-star and Omarion Miller is not. The ratings are right here, right? Sometimes they don't get it right. Sometimes, some Louisiana wide receivers are better. Like for me personally, I thought the best wide receiver in the class last year was Xavier Thomas. And, my opinion changed on it so much. There was a piece of me that said Aaron Anderson was the best. There was a piece of me that said Shaz Preston was the best. But I hope Lennon Ibieta is the best. Let's go, Leonard. Another super chat. They're floating on in. Who is going to match the $10 super chat from Leonard? I love it. I believe this LSU team can be sneaky. Leonard with a $10 super chat. $1 for every win. I love it. I love it. Leonard, first of all, I love that name, right? Obviously, Leonard Fournette. Who are some other famous Leonards? Skinnerd, right? I think that's the first one that comes to mind. Actually, Fournette's the first one that comes to mind for me. Oh, Creek wants to see Z Baby. Babe, can we get a Z Baby? Bring Z Baby for a second. We had a super chatter. How many players will mostly be unavailable or sparing the last 2 years due to health will be available if remain healthy for 2022? So, speak of the devil. Okay, Sean. Leonard, could it be that people are sleeping on Kayshawn a little bit? Right? It could be. I think Kayshawn's existence on this team is worthy of a win. I can look at the last 2 seasons and spot 2 different games where Kayshawn won the game on his own accord. There's not many people that can go out there and win you a football game, especially if they don't play quarterback. Okay? The Ole Miss game, Kayshawn won for us. You can argue the Florida game as well, but more so the Ole Miss game with one of the best receiving performances in LSU history. Then, last year, Mississippi State game, he opened so much up for us in that game. Now, statistically, it wasn't the same as the Ole Miss game, but, he forced a lot of things to happen in that game, starting off with that really difficult catch in the end zone, right? I think people are sleeping on Kayshawn. So if he's healthy, ready to go, that's an extra win. Now, 10-2 is a really good season. That's a special season. Now, let me ask you this question, Leonard. If you're going to, if you're going to say 10-2, let's go. We'll pull up the schedule again tonight. Okay. Let's do some math here. All right. So, Leonard, let me ask you this. I want you right now. Let me move Leonard's comment right here. Okay, showing so good. People thought Max Johnson was legit. Okay. Leonard, I want you to tell me this. How many games on this schedule would you say LSU wins 75% of the time? Okay. And Danny has a follow-up super chat. Leonard, I want you to answer this question for me. If you think LSU is 10-2, right? How many games on the schedule does LSU win 75% of the time? We know there's at least 3: Southern, New Mexico, and UAB. Okay. But how many total games? I want you to answer in the comment section. It's going to end this poll question here. Okay. But this is a good poll question here. Winning at least 10. So Leonard, look, your brother Amacat is with you. Okay. So let's bring up Danny's super chat here. I'm sorry to be the bummer, but I think we need to temper our expectations of a completely new staff without a solid QB1 and an SEC West that is far better than normal. And Leonard, you know I love you, but I agree with Danny. Right? I just do. Now, I wish I wish I was wrong about this. I do. But if you were to ask me which one would be the more reasonable thing, an 8-4 season or a 10-3 season, I would say an 8-4 season. But I will also say this, Leonard. Okay. So Leonard's 2 losses are Alabama and Ole Miss. Okay. Ole Miss I could see. But the thing is, Ole Miss being like if 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, if LSU was 7-0 going into that Ole Miss game, I could easily see LSU losing that game because that's going to be your 8th straight win. And that's a lot to win in a row with a tough SEC. And also playing Ole Miss the 2 weeks before that, you're playing 2 mobile quarterbacks. And that's tough, to chase down 2 mobile guys and then play a Lane Kiffin offense. It's tough. And not only that, to Danny's question, you have a defensive coordinator who's not called plays since 2018, right? So my question for you guys would be, how many bad games how many bad games will our coordinators have? Well, defensively, Matt House is probably gonna have a rough game, right? Because this is his first year calling plays, right? Now he could be super special, but there's going to be a game where things don't go his way, right? Leonard says he thinks 8 games at 75% chance. Very interesting. Amacat says, no need for reasonable takes. I love it. Dang, a few of you said for sure wins, only 3 to 5. Very interesting. Creek's a believer in the Hendon Hooker mob. Bigger conspiracy. Terrace Marshall leaving early cost him a first-round selection. That's not what cost him a first-round selection. His medical did. There's a lot of people that had first-round grades for Terrace Marshall. His medical history was just flagged. His high school injury and then, 2019 injury. But yeah, rough rookie year, but that was the worst situation to be in as a wide receiver. Or TM6 and Gilbert's absence leading to his emergence. As in Kayshawn's emergence. Yeah, Kayshawn's emergence was aided by those two guys, missing. And I think that more so speaks to LSU's wide receiver depth. What if somehow, some way Malik, goes sicko mode and turns into Odell this year? I don't think that is out of the realm of possibility. I don't. Gosh darn it. We were talking about Kayshawn. The second one, out of your hypothetical here, Leonard Pierce. The second one is not a conspiracy theory. It's just true, right? Those targets opened up, and it's part of it. The leaving early had nothing to do, I believe, with Terrace falling out of the first round. That's true. At the very least, we're not going to be running around with their heads cut off. Which, is a compliment to Brian Kelly, but at the same time, it's like, but keep going back to this. This is a really good super chat here from Danny. I appreciate you, buddy. Auburn is a dumpster fire. I believe we'll win that game close as usual. Well, I would say as usual, other than the fact that they beat our tails last time we went to Auburn, and they beat us last year in Tiger Stadium, which I am still pissed off about. All Max Johnson has to do is hit TDP as a check down to his right side or not overthrow Jack Bash. And all we have to do is not let Bo Nix go Johnny Manziel on us. But it happened. And the thing that sucked about it was we had all these national media members there, right? It was that ESPN 8 p.m. game, which I hate. Man, there was a lot of national media there at that game. It was on ESPN and quality of depth. That's right on the mic, Chris. Yeah, so I guess you were watching last night. So yeah, I'll say this. I think Besh and Malik are a little bit further ahead of the next crop of wide receivers on this roster behind Kayshawn than most would think. Obviously, BTJ has a ridiculously high ceiling. His catch in the spring game was sick. and he made some absolutely insane plays last year. Consistency is going to be very interesting. But Malik does a really good job of getting other people open. And Jack is the number 2 wide receiver on this team. Now, Dre's got a really strong case as being a part of what LSU is going to do next year. But, as far as athleticism is concerned, I just think Jack is as athletic as any wide receiver on the team not named Kayshawn, right? A big part of athleticism is strength. A big part of your athleticism is your ability to block. And those 2 traits are arguably 2 things he's better at than anyone else, right? Now, is he faster than Chris Hilton? Never in a million years. Not many people are. But the one thing I'll say about Jack Bech, okay, if I need a mother effing third down to be completed, he's going to get it for me, right? I cannot state this enough. And look, I always and this is, the pros and cons of having Jack Bech on the channel. It's good. I've gotten to know him a little bit. He's a great guy. I've always been a big Jack Bech guy. I thought he was going to be great in year 1. I really did. I got plenty of receipts on that. He was my number 1 rated player in my own personal evaluation out of the wide receivers, okay? So there's a lot of reasons for me to have this opinion I'm about to share. But it's just true. He is better than the other players, especially based on what we saw last year, right? Now, BTJ is a better deep ball option. If I need a deep ball to be caught and it's a vertical route and I need someone to go get it, he's better in that aspect. And Malik does a lot of good things as well. But I cannot say this enough. Getting open. All right, Chris, we'll see you. Thank you as always for supporting. Feel free to hit me up anytime. But if I need a third down to be completed, Jack Bech did that so often. 3rd and 6 versus Alabama. He's going up against one of their better DBs. He gets open for a first down, baby. 4th and 9 with the game on the line. Alabama brings a house blitz. Man-to-man coverage. We call the perfect route. Jack Bech over in the middle. Pete's called the perfect play. Max sails him. If he completes it, Jack probably makes that guy miss and houses that. Or at least it's interesting. There was a referee in the vicinity. It would have been interesting if Max would have thrown an accurate ball there. Once again, the only reason we were bowl eligible, Jack Bech. 4th and 7, game on the line. Jack Bech hadn't caught a pass all night. What does he do? He goes out there, gets past the sticks. There was pass rush on the way, and he just gets open and turns quickly and gives Max a window to complete the pass. But you see, we don't necessarily talk about those because they weren't the touchdowns, right? They weren't, the big flashy play. But Jack Bech made some of the flashiest catches you'll ever see. He's really freaking special. And he just had one of the best true freshman wide receiver seasons we've ever seen at LSU. And yes, Chris Hilton's talented. Yes, Kyron Lacey's talented. And those guys very well could jump anybody, not named Kayshawn, right? But Jack's really, really, really good. And he does these things that wins you football games, right? He just gets open. He is really Jarvis Landry 2.0, all the way down to the jersey number. It's not the fastest, but he's got hands of steel. He converts a lot of third downs. He gets open, right? And he makes difficult catches. And he could be the second best player on this team behind Kayshawn. He's really freaking good, right? So we'll see. Danny's spot on about a lot of things, other than her hating on my fruity beer love. Cooper Kupp. I love Jack Besh, but Cooper Kupp is, man, he's one of one, right? Huh? I mean, I like the NFL, but man, Cooper Kupp just had one of the best seasons ever. Ever. If not the best wide receiver season of all time. It was really good. How many rosters on our schedule will be more talented than LSU? BK rarely loses when he has more talent than the opponent. So let's go back to Leonard Super Chat here. Let's go ahead and pull up the schedule right here. So how many rosters would you say LSU is better than right now? Okay, Alabama, no. Alabama's better roster. That's a good point, Leonard. Still A&M skill guys. I'm not in love with it. That's a good point, Leonard. I mean, and that's where it gets interesting. And that's where there might be some value in taking LSU because, as far as like pure talent is concerned, they can go toe to toe with anyone, right? Especially if a lot of these transfers hit. Yeah, Leonard. Look, Leonard might be talking me into a 10-win season. What are you doing to me, Leonard? I'm just trying to, not get everyone too hyped up. But 10 wins? Let's go, Leonard. F it. We're going 15-0. Let's go. Will Anderson, who? CJ Stroud, who? Will Shipley, who? Huh? But honestly, Leonard, some of it is depth, right? So you can't just look at these starters. You got to look at who's behind them. And honestly, the second thing about that, Leonard, would be the quarterbacks, right? Pull up the schedule. And how many quarterbacks are better than LSU's quarterback on the schedule? Right. Arkansas's got a better quarterback. Alabama's got a better quarterback. Ole Miss potentially. Tennessee Hooker definitely. Florida maybe with AR-15. I know Blake's a big AR-15 guy. Jordan Travis at Florida State, maybe Will Rogers. Yeah, I'd say so. So once again, shout out to our friends at Pressy Collection, PressyCollection.com for making these live streams so much fun. Betcher's only SEC offer was Vandy. Glad the staff reevaluated. Absolutely. And that's part of it. Some of it's coaching, right? Lane and Sam have won a lot of games in the SEC. Hammond, good to see you. BK will bring discipline and preparation. Example, 3-5 play call to get a first down and manageable fourth down. It's true. Aim a cat. Miles Brennan believer. I love it, man. Hope you're right. That is true, Pegasus. A lot of people said the same thing about LSU. And they were 12-13 the last 2 years. And if you went by draft picks, LSU was the second talented roster in college football last year with 10 draft picks. And that doesn't include Kayshawn. So there we go. This has been a good live chat. I've really enjoyed this. We've touched on so many different topics. That Cooper Kupp season, God bless. And the playoff games, right? He won 3 playoff games. He won the San Francisco game, won the Tampa Bay game, won the Bengals game. That's just absurd. It's absolutely absurd. You played 3 close playoff games and you won all of them. All of them. What's up? I'm on one with Unc Shannon as the Abby. Let's go. I love it. Johnny Five always jumping in here at the end. There we go. It's kind of crazy. Derek Jeter got on Twitter today. And he gained 221,000 followers in one day, 9 a.m. So, JL, good to see you, man. Thanks for having me on your channel. If you see my super chat, that my point was that a lot of the players that are now available did not play the last 2 years. Texas A&M had the #1 recruiting class. They did. A lot of good defensive linemen there, too. I'll tell you that Anthony Lucas kid is a monster, and he wasn't even one of their 5 stars. Manga. Matty Ice, what's good, man? I hadn't seen you in a minute. So what's this going on? I just got sent this from a few of you. Well, one of you, but now I saw someone else. And Danny, maybe if Danny's still in here, maybe you can help me with this. I don't keep up with LSU baseball closely. So um we are reaching we are past the hour and a half mark. So you got a little extra PHL tonight. Thanks to all the super chatters. But here's what we'll do. In the next 5 minutes, you can guys ask me anything LSU football related. This has been a really productive live chat tonight. So feel free to ask me anything. Now, I do want to watch this clip.
Yeah, it is hard not to look ahead, but like obviously we all are. Yeah. Honestly, how hard is it not to look ahead? Yeah, it is hard not to look ahead, but like obviously we all are. Yeah.
Looking ahead past USM. Interesting. It's all good, Creek. Go on and get your nights in, baby. Really? That was according to Mic'd Up with Mikey Matuk. Jared Mitchell sitting right there.
How hard is it not to?
Man, it's never good to drop a looking ahead quote. Oh man, I don't know I don't know if I don't know if this clip was taken out of context or whatever. But man, I hope LSU baseball wins. I don't want people to take me not talking about LSU baseball on this channel as me not wanting them to win. I want every LSU sport to win. I do. Okay. With that said, you never drop a looking ahead quote. Now, if you back it up and win, no harm, no foul. Oh, love it. Then Emma can't build a computer tonight. SMC, it's a good comment here. Will Brennan be the starter week 1? OL and DB play is going to determine win total this year. Those position groups are dominated with transfer. We're really going to be able to evaluate whether or not it's beneficial building your team via the portal. And that's true, SMC. It's true. You know, there's one way of looking at this as well, right? As far as like Seven Banks, the reason why I didn't enter the draft because he was hurt. Okay, Jared Bernard Converse. Why? There's a reason. Like even if they were hurt, if they had a high enough draft grade, they still would have gone, right? So you make a really good point here about how viable building so much of your roster through the transfer portal will be. All right. What was your biggest takeaway from the meetings in Destin? Okay. It's a soccer question. I won't go too deep into it, but here we go. So, Carter, after 3 days, how do you feel about the game? I'm glad Courtois Benz got their flowers and Premier fans are mad. Yeah, I mean, Real Madrid just went on. If they weren't Real Madrid, we would be talking about them making like the biggest Cinderella run, but really it was a Cinderella run that they went on, right? Now their team is not full of like these no-name guys. I mean, their roster is amazing, but to get outshot the way that they did and the way that they won a lot of the games was truly amazing, right? Um, I was very disappointed in our attack. I thought Mo should have finished at least one of those chances. I think there was an opportunity for him. It would have caused a big collision with Courtois to pound one of those things in. And I think he made a business decision as far as like, his shoulder being hurt in the past. So it sucks, but we shall move on. We still won two cups. We still got a bright future, and we're winning. Would I have preferred winning the Premiership or the Champions League over the other two cups? Yeah, for sure. But it is what it is. Proud to be a Red. It's true, Michael B. Lots of roster rebuilding. Cold beer on Carter. It's like overtime. Here you go, Doug. So, Doug, I'm going to bully you into changing your avatar. We want to see what Doug looks like. Doug knows. Mm. Tony said, hey, change that Abby, baby. Let's see here. Well, all right, guys and gals. Waterboy flashbacks. To beat in Premier Team was always great, but to do it in Paris in front of Mbappe was even better. I'm down. I'm down for a Lewandowski move. I really am. I mean, we're missing a center forward that could just score goals. I know he's old, but you know, Klopp has a relationship probably with them from, you know, his German days. I'm down for Lewandowski. I am. And I'm not just saying that because he's a big name. It's just, you know, we need a center forward. We need that. Let's hope you're right, Emma Cat. Just stop the explosive plays. You always got a chance if you do that. Right, guys and gals. This has been a fun live stream. Tomorrow we will have a video on JADEN RASHADA coming out. I'm going to share with you a few different studies done on official visits and how much they actually help or hurt your chances of hitting a prospect. Obviously, you know, JADEN RASHADA has an official visit, so that'll be on tomorrow's video, and that will drop roughly at 6 p.m. Central. Be on the lookout for Thursday night's planning. Once again, I will be traveling to go to our good buddy King Robert's transition. And he obviously passed away. King Robert, a big part of the channel. So I'm getting to meet Robert's family, getting to tell them how much he meant to all of us. So I will be traveling on Thursday and coming back on Saturday. So we'll probably live stream on Sunday night. We'll see. So be on the lookout on our community page for potential, you know, scheduling announcements and all that. Okay. We shall talk to you soon. It is Power Hour LSU Band. And tonight we are doing, what are we doing tonight? Oh, we're doing enchiladas. Let's go. Let's go.